Today we're playing the Outer Worlds Space's Choice Edition on the Steam Deck, and to start it off we're playing the game at 800p with the lowest settings. Alright, going to the settings, here we are at 800p and at the lowest settings. There we go. Okay, let's jump into this and we can get. So this game is a remaster of the original game that came out a few years ago. It's got all the DLCs, it's got better graphics, it's got FSR as well, I believe. Alright, let's see how we do though. So far we're sitting in the 50s and 60s, with a couple stutters here and there. The game does look quite decent still, I can't even lie. It's not a bad looking game, but I got a feeling the original game will look as good as this, but perform a lot better. Oh my god. Look at this, guys. 28 FPS. Max FPS is 30. That is pretty bad. We can get 50 FPS obviously, but it's not very stable as it seems like. Easily falling into the 30s and even the 20s at the lowest preset. That is pretty awful. I think by default, the game plays at the lowest settings, with FSR enabled with balanced, and your resolution is set to 85% of your native resolution. In a second, I'll go ahead and pause the game and enable FSR, but so far, native 800p, lowest settings, it's quite unplayable in some areas. It's very stuttery, and it's very laggy, and FPS easily falls into the 20s. But yeah, let's pause the game here, let's quit out, enable FSR, gonna go straight for the balance preset, and we'll see how we do then. Now using FSR 2.0, at the balance preset, let's see what we can do. That is quite a hit to the quality of the game. Looks far more blurry, and far softer than native 800p, and the signs are flickering a little bit. Happening over here as well, but it's very obvious with this sign over here. Again, before we fell into the 20s, the high 20s, and the low 30s. The game was very stuttery and very choppy, was quite unplayable. Not too bad, sitting in the 40s and almost the 50s now. We still get a couple stutters here and there, but it's happening far less than what it was before, so it's definitely an improvement. I think regardless though for this game, I would choose to go with a 30 FPS cap. We can get 40 to 50 FPS obviously with these settings, but still feels kind of choppy and stuttery at times. So I think using a 30 FPS cap should hopefully allow us to have a really smooth and very stable experience all around. I think ideally though, playing the original game is a better idea. The game should be a lot easier to run. It's not going to have all the DLCs included obviously, but it should run a lot better. Okay, let's pause it here and go up to the medium settings and try again. Alright, and here we are at the medium settings. No FSR as well. Definitely an improvement over low settings with FSR. No surprises there, of course. The game looks fantastic, to be honest. And let's go through this door. I'm guessing 20 FPS, but I guess we'll see in a second. And afterwards, I'll enable FSR as well. And hopefully we can get 30 FPS with FSR enabled. 25 FPS / 26 FPS. It's a slideshow, what can I say? Very stuttery, very choppy all around. We can get 30 FPS, but it's not a very smooth 30 FPS. So, it's not very playable, obviously. Using FSR now, not bad to be honest. The medium settings with FSR does look a lot better. That's a pretty decent increase to be honest. Going from the mid-20s to the low 40s now. The game looks pretty good as well. Still feeling kind of stuttery in this section. At 40 FPS. Falling to the high 20s and even the low to mid 30s there. So yeah, this game isn't very playable as it is by default. 40 FPS obviously can be hit in those easier scenes, but in those heavier scenes you will still fall down to the 30s. And like all around, the game is very stuttery, so not very ideal to use a 40 FPS cap. You can try it out if you like, and maybe use a more aggressive FSR setting, but personally at that point, you're losing so much quality, that's not even worth using. Alright, and fighting feels about the same as before. Getting some stutters here and there. FPS wise, wow, there's no aim assist. And FPS wise, we're sitting in the high 30s / the mid 40s. Alright, for the high settings, I'm going to keep FSR enabled at the performance setting. And here we are with the rest of the preset. There we go. It's not too bad, surprisingly. I thought it would look really bad with the FSR preset, but it's pretty good still. I kind of like it. It's not too bad at all. Ideally for the Steam Deck, using the high settings isn't really a good idea, but if you want to, I guess you could. Okay, what are we getting here? Sitting in the mid to high 30s and the low 40s. Not bad. It's definitely a lot softer, so if you like this softer look, then obviously you're gonna like it. For me personally, I like the sharper look a lot more. So I would go with a mix of medium and low settings with balance / quality FSR depending Which one looks better? And I would use a 30 FPS cap as well. Aiming won't feel as good, but the rest of the game should feel just fine. Falling into the 20s will happen as well, actually. When I pan the camera around, as you guys can see, we do fall into the high 20s occasionally. Okay, fighting feels about the same, to be honest. Not really too intensive, in my opinion. Sitting pretty much in the mid 30s / high 30s with occasional stutters. So yeah, not too bad. Let's pause the game here, go up to the optimal settings, and see what we can do there. Alright, and here we are with the optimized settings. Playing at 800p with balanced FSR at a mix of medium and low settings. Alright, I'm using a 30 FPS cap right here in the city, as you guys can see. GPU's pulling 2.5 watts, CPU's pulling 1.6 watts. So it's running quite well right here, and our battery life is sitting at almost 3 hours of gameplay time. So right here we should see an increase in our power draw on the CPU. Yep, there we go, we're pulling 2.5 watts on the GPU and 2 watts on the CPU. It's not too bad, to be honest. Not bad at all. And as you guys can see, the game isn't stuttering. It's running beautifully. Look at that. It's perfect. Now again, playing at 30 FPS isn't going to be as responsive as 40 or 50 like before, but there's no stutters, no lag spikes, there's no hiccups. The game plays very smoothly. So it's a trade-off, but I think personally, it's definitely worth it. CPU's using up 7 watts of power, which is far more than before. Again, we were sitting at 2.5 watts I think before, which will lower the battery life of the system. So keep that in mind. It's up to 3 hours of gameplay time, but it can fall as low as like 1.5 hours pretty much. So keep that in mind. But yeah, this entire time, we haven't had a single stutter. It's been very smooth all around. The game looks great. It's the medium settings, obviously. A mix of medium low. And using FSR as well. So it's pretty good. But still, I think buying the original game is the better idea. This port isn't as optimized as the original. And the graphics on the small screen of the Steam Deck will be very similar anyway. So it's not a huge deal. But with this, you get all the DLCs for a cheaper price. So might be worth it for some. Now, if you guys are wondering about the max performance or the max FPS of this preset on the Steam Deck, here we are with that. In the time we're sitting in the 50s, up into the 70s in those easier scenes. It's pretty decent. But I think once we go through to the coast, the stutters will come back in and the performance will be quite poor. Okay, sitting in the low to mid 40s. Not too bad. Yep, there we go. The stuttering is back. It's just not worth it, to be honest. We can get 40 FPS with this preset, but freezes and the stutters just ruining it, to be honest. So yeah, 30 FPS and you'll have a good time playing the game. You can even go with a higher preset as well, but at that point you're sacrificing your headroom and your battery life. So it's really up to you. Right, here we are in 100p, optimal settings, FSR enabled, and yeah, 30 FPS as well. So far pretty good. Not getting any stuttering, any lagging at all. For dock mode, I wouldn't go up to the high settings. I think a mix of medium and low is fine. Going up to the high settings is pushing it a little bit. But yeah, overall 30 FPS. It plays fine. We had like 1 or 2 stutters at the start, but it's gone away at this point. And yeah, not bad at all. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Again, if you're playing the game in handheld mode and you care about your battery life, then play at a mix of low and medium settings at 30 FPS with balanced FSR. And you also have the option of going up to the high settings, but losing a bit of headroom for your FPS, and again for your battery life as well. For dock mode, again 100p, 30 FPS, and a mix of medium and low settings plays fine. I wouldn't go up to the high settings. You're gonna see some stutters at that point, just not worth it. But at medium and low, it's playing fine at 30 FPS as well. So yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you guys for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed, and I'll catch you guys next time for the next video. See you guys there.